Does God exist? The same question that has sent our world into a frenzy. It is no different in No Rest for the Wicked, where many different beliefs clash. However, among the passionate voices of these religions, there lies one voice that stays silent. Quite literally, they stay loyal to their dead god. Major spoilers about No Rest for the Wicked. So, there are three religions that we know of so far, represented by the Dasha, the Church, and the Serim. The Dasha worship four gods: the Seeker, the Mother, the Maker, and the Forsaken. The Church only worship one god, the Born God. And finally, the Serim worship the Sayer. And one thing you have to know about the Serim is that they have this thing called the untold.
We are all but hands of the one true God. And yet it is your kind who are said to share one mind, one soul between you. I believe you call it the untold, yes?
You must remember this because I'll be referring to the untold quite a lot of times. The first time you come across Marin Village, all the villagers, with the exception of a few, are under a spell that's extremely similar to what the priest explained to us.
So many voices calling me home.
The quieter you are, the better you can hear them. Hear him.
The path is open. We must walk together.
It is obviously not the Serim's Untold, but it is similar, so we're going to call it the Caretaker's Untold. So remember, as of now there's the Caretaker's Untold and the Serim's Untold. One thing I've noticed is the specific use of the word burrow.
The mind is a burrow.
It's not a coincidence that the word is specifically used, not just once but twice, by two separate major characters. It is also followed by two depictions of worms that can be directly tied to the word, obviously, shown to us through the Caretaker and the Seneschal. Let's go back to Marin Village for a second. We all agree that the village's situation is similar to the Untold, as I said before. So now we have to ask, what caused the Caretaker's Untold on the village? We know for a fact one reason it was triggered was the Caretaker's desire to not be alone.
God. What happened here?
It's Alden, the caretaker. He doesn't want to be alone.
The other reason is clearly due to the pestilence, but it raises some questions because Caretaker Alden is not the only person to have been infected by the plague. So why is it that he can create mental traps while the others didn't? So what could be the difference here? I think the difference is that there are different parasites of the pestilence that exists. All we have to do is look at the variety of transformations the afflicted go through. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that there are different parasites of the pestilence. During the cutscene of Caretaker Alden's transformation, the cutscene kind of highlights the worms burrowing into his head, which I believe have some implications to the Seneschal. And as you can see, the Seneschal is not only burrowed into the ground, but later in the game, he also mentally burrows into Elsa's mind. This tells me that he may be capable of unleashing his own version of the Untold if at full capacity, but for now he is trapped in a place called the Limnus. The Limnus kind of takes long to explain, but long story short, it is basically a safe haven located in a completely different dimension But anyways, let's move on to the Watcher and how he uses the word burrow. He says,
The mind is a burrow, a dark hole filled with muck and vermin.
and again, the fact that they use this word specifically cannot be a coincidence. The Seneschal being embedded within the limnus, literally burrowed into the ground, is a clue that the limnus is actually someone's mind. Whose mind? Probably the Sayer's. For me, it makes sense for it to be the Sayer's mind, especially given the definition of Seneschal. And in this case, in the context of his role in the Serum Order, both definitions seem to apply. Because I think the Seneschal plays or once played a crucial role in the Serum Order. We can further confirm his deep connections to the Serum because he actually speaks the forgotten language of the Serum. We know this because, remember, we are playing as a Serum, and in the Marin Woods, you can find this tribe called the Balak Taw. When you try to communicate with them, our playable character does not understand their language. In contrast, when the Seneschal speaks, which is not English, it is an unknown language, our player character does understand. Which to me implies that he is speaking the Serum language, especially given all the context. And this is where my speculation truly begins. It's heavily implied that the pestilence manifests through different parasites based on what we've covered, right? The varying mutations, the different types of monsters. I believe the Seneschal is also a unique variant. He is also one of these parasites. He might even be the original source of the pestilence. Although that might be too speculative. And I think somehow the Sayer took advantage of this. The Serum's untold that the priest refers to is clearly vital to the Serum's identity, and I believe their untold actually comes from the Seneschal himself, whom the Sayer somehow manipulated in order for him to play God. We are not given too much about the Sayer, so I cannot fully speculate about the Sayer, but I do theorize one thing. He's dead. Remember when the Watcher said the mind is a burrow? Again, I don't think it's a coincidence that the Seneschal happens to be deeply burrowed into the limnus floor. I think the limnus is actually the Sayer's mind. It has to be. More specifically, I think he's been trapped by the Sayer somehow. Assuming this theory, the Seneschal actually speaks as if he hasn't seen or communicated with anyone in a long time, suggesting that whoever's mind this is has not been active in a very long time. Another piece of evidence supporting the Sayer's death is our prayer at the mountain gate. The will of the Sayer. This implies to me that the Sayer himself is not the one speaking, which is highly suggestive that he is dead. Well, we could argue he's dormant, but would he really allow his faith to be forgotten? Or maybe he wasn't an egotistical god and simply wanted the world to be safe. So as long as the world was safe, it didn't really matter whether he was forgotten or not. But then, if he was that kind of god, why remain still while the pestilence returned? Why wait over 3 years after the resurgence of the pestilence to send a serum to sacrament? It doesn't make sense. And another contradiction, the fact that a serum was sent to sacrament should signify that the Sayer is no longer dormant if he was, right? Yet when we attempt to communicate, someone else speaks in his place. So who was the Sayer really? Not a god, not even a prophet. A man. He was a man clever enough to somehow manipulate the Seneschal into fighting the pestilence at his command, unleashing the untold through the Seneschal's ability in order to control a whole mass of people into worshipping him as a god, basically enforcing these people to see him as a god. But he was arrogant enough to believe he could actually own the Seneschal's power, and in his final act of ambition, he finally went too far. He let this false godhood get to him, truly believing he was untouchable and that he alone could not be taken by the pestilence. He actually thought he had achieved godhood. Blinded by this delusion, he wanted to cultivate the Seneschal's power by trapping him inside his own mind, convinced that he was different, convinced that his godly mind would be able to take it. But the Seneschal, as we know, is not just a servant. According to our theory, he is a variant of the pestilence after all, and the pestilence takes all. And that's the irony. In trying to use the plague to become a god, the Sayer may have been claimed by the very thing he sought to control. Whether he's dead, consumed, or lost in the prison of his own making, we do not know. But one thing is certain. The Serum now prays to silence. Their god is gone, and all that remains is a faith without a god. A godless faith. But one question still remains. Who is the one talking in the Sayer's place?